came in contact with. She was a guest on the podcast, and I loved her story, loved her message, and when I said I was doing New Jersey, she like immediately sent me a message that says, "Okay, I need the link," and I was like, "Great, I love it, I love it. I love seeing women go and take that extra step and go to the next level and be able to share their story." And just listening to her story from the podcast, it was like, okay, oh, I can see her doing some amazing things. That's one of the reasons why I love doing the podcast so much, is because I've been able to come in contact with some amazing women. But we'll talk a little bit more about that when it comes to networking too, when we talk about the networking piece. But Miss Cindy, can you come on now? Thank you.
Good afternoon. How's everybody?
Good afternoon.
Wolfgang Reed quotes, "Greatness in a speaker is defined by passion, humility, sincerity, and personal experience, coupled with a person's ability to capture, communicate, and entertain their audience while still sharing practical, sustainable, and immediately implementable life skills which have a positive effect on our present." And I too believe, like so many, that a great speaker speaks from the heart. And I speak from the heart, but I also write down the words in my heart to make sure I say everything I need to for the specific audience in which I'm delivering it to. So tip number one, do it the way God gives it to you. See, when I was a little girl, I wasn't affirmed and validated by those whom I thought should, and I was always looking at how someone else around me was treated and did things. I wasn't the thin little girl and didn't consider myself pretty. I was a little girl with the chubby cheeks, and that's how many people addressed me, although I wanted to be so many different people. I had nice long hair, but that seemed to go unnoticed by everyone except my mom. I thought I lacked something because of what I saw others around me getting: attention, validation, affirmation. I wanted that. I wanted attention. I wanted validation. I wanted to be affirmed. I wanted someone to notice me too. I wanted to be loved. And so I sought after it unknowingly in all the wrong ways. And because of what I secretly wanted in my heart, the enemy set that very thing up to come and try to destroy me. But what the enemy didn't know was what was meant to kill me is actually what God used to build me. And so let's turn this venue into a place or into a sanctuary. Tell your neighbor, what was meant to kill me is actually what is meant to build me. See, the cut on my finger yesterday, I had a bandage on it. Because at first, the pain and irritation didn't bother me. And then I realized that's how I went through life for a very long time. I ignored the little cuts and bruises in my life until they became infected or either started spreading and impacted other areas of my life. And just like this little cut, you couldn't really see it unless you got close to me. When I decided I was no longer going to nurse my wounds, my disappointments, and my mistakes, but I was going to tend to it and get the help I needed and allow it to heal, I didn't need so many Band-Aids anymore. See, I'm really talking about the Band-Aids that are not visible to others. The Band-Aid that is patched up over our hearts, over something that happened to us that keep replaying in our minds, or the Band-Aid we deal with home life and ministry, our job, or even our business. I used to be the girl, the teen, the young adult, and now woman who coveted what others hated. After trial and error, I now don't want anyone else's success. In this room, outside of this room, in this city, state, nation, or world. Because in order to have their success, you have to own and be willing to have their problems. Jay-Z said, I have 99 problems, and that shit gave one. But I'm saying, if I had 99 problems, yours would not be one. See, I said if I had 99 problems. The problem with many of us is that we have claimed things that don't even belong to us. Hell said, I'm going to send different spirits to you, and we're going to visit your house. And you have a choice whether you're going to let them in or you're going to send them away. Death and life are in the tongue, and they have power. Notice death comes before life, while they both still have that power. And I don't play the lottery, but I will bet on Numbers 14:28. It says, as surely as I live, declares the Lord, I will do to you the very thing I heard you say. So what things have you spoken out of your mouth that you see manifest and you are not totally in agreement with? That means God did what we heard, what he heard us say. We have to make a choice to live. I don't deny that things don't exist or things are not happening, but I no longer accept it as this will always be my way of life. I believe in being coached and mentored, having a therapist and talking to someone. But I also believe in Jesus and deliverance and healing. And sometimes we need a combination of all of them while keeping him at the front of them all. I believe if we function anything less than what God has called us, it's an insult to his divinity. It's not enough for us to know what to do. We have to do what we know works. So tip number 2, if you don't know what to do and how to overcome, like you're doing today, get around people who do. Don't be afraid to ask for help. See, I can talk about the rape, the sexual assault, the drug use, the drug abuse, the promiscuity, the hospital visits, and the hospital amenities that was meant to kill me. But why dwell on things that many of us have already been through? Many know the afflictions of the righteous, but not many know the deliverer who brings us out of them all. Many people know how to fight, but not many know how to win and be victorious. See, we know that all things work together for good of those who love God and to those who are called according to his purpose. But the problem is many of us don't know our purpose. There are master classes and webinars and books and workshops and conferences. And after these, she noted where we go and we get all pumped up. And we go back home the same. Your purpose will be found in God's word and what he's chose for you to do. Since God knew us from our mother's womb, he's already decided that we're going to be conformed to his image. And since he predestined us, he's called us. And since he's called you, he's justified you. And when he's justified you, he's glorified you. So what is your purpose? What is that thing or things you have been through and now have the battle scars to prove that you were in the battle and you won? What story are you sitting on that could be the game changer for the next person and the liberation you need to finally break free? I wrote a book, the 7th one to be exact, called Free Yourself, because I wanted to teach others how to walk in the freedom that has already been afforded to many of us. Many are dead men and women walking because of life circumstances and situations. Free yourself. You may or may not know a man by the name of David, and I don't even know his last name, but there was a key he left when he died. He gave us access. You have access to doors that no man can shut, and you have access to shut doors that no man can open. Free yourself. All families have problems. Free yourself. What was done to you as a child that you had no control of was not your fault. Free yourself. Everyone has an opinion, but not everyone's opinion matters. Free yourself. What you think was a tragedy is really God's strategy for your life. It was God's strategy for me to live the life I lived for so long so he can link me up with other people to show me a different way. It was his strategy that my entire business be birthed through some of the most painful and disappointing times of my life. When I realized that writing became part of my therapy and my words had power, my mouth became the pen of a ready writer. I now speak healed words to not only myself, but to others. I now speak healed words to the minds and souls of the children I stand in front of and teach. I speak healed words in front of men and women in different regions and states in this world. It was God's strategy that he used to get me to pen 9 books in 17 months. It was his strategy to get me to tour this East Coast during the student teacher tour. It was his strategy to get me on my knees for children and students who reminded me of who I was when I was their age, to disrupt the kingdom of darkness. This was God's plan and strategy that he used for me. And of course, I missed the mark so many times, but he has come to reset the target for us today. He can do the same for all of us while we're on this journey of self-discovery, purpose, passion, your plan for your next that will eventually lead you to the plan that prospers and the plan that profits. Life can be good without God, but it will be meaningless. Our lives ought to be lived looking forward, but understood looking backwards. When you look back to only see where you came from and all the things that happened to you, and not looking back longing for the dysfunction or to carry it around, especially as a child, it starts to make sense. It should free you to know that a lot of what we did out of ignorance, but now that we know the truth is what makes us free. Our failures of yesterday can never steal our successes of tomorrow. Do not live as if you will never die, and don't die like you never lived, but live full and die empty. There is no storm in your life that did not and does not have an expiration date on it. I have yet to see a challenge that God cannot collapse. Don't allow your mind to magnify your problems and make them seem bigger than the one who can solve them all. Nothing is too big for him, and nothing is too hard for him. There's nothing too hard that he can't send the right people, the right resources, and the right tools to you at the right time. And I believe today is the right time. My pastor always says, don't allow people to bring you into their storm, but drag them into your peace. Whatever your storm is today, let it be carried away by the peace that will surpass all of our natural, intellectual, and analytical thinking. Life is in stages and phases. It's one step at a time. God's master plan is that the end of a matter should be better than the beginning. And even though the beginning is small, the grand design is that the end result should be that of increase. Your small steps of change should be a testimony of the big change in the end. God himself started with an earth that was without form and void, but that is not how it ended. In order to give us a pattern, God created the world one day at a time, and for 6 days, the process continued. He worked each step until he saw that it was good. Your process is your process, and it's good. My process is my process, and it's good. It didn't seem good at the time, and yours may not have seemed good at the time, but it has worked for our good. Growth is a process. In the course of time, God expects us to make positive changes and move forward, aspiring to greater heights and improving into perfection of him. Life is about sowing and reaping. We must give something to get something. What a tragedy for us to live and die with nothing to show for living. Find out the job description of what God has assigned you to do and do it. And that's what I did. I remember all the pain, all the sorrow, and all the late nights worrying and crying. And then I remember that joy really does come in the morning. And I decided to share with men and women to help them overcome, because sometimes if you are the bridge, you will be walked over. Sometimes if you are the bridge, you will have some bruises. But if you are the bridge, you are a sturdy structure built to allow large and heavy things to pass over you. Just a few hours ago, I crossed the Delaware Memorial Bridge. So tell yourself, you are the Memorial Bridge that people will forever remember and cross over. I am Seminary Memorial Bridge. And you will never forget me. You might forget my name for now, but you will never forget that our paths crossed. If you are the bridge, you are called to reconcile or form a connection between two things. So I formed a connection between my past and my future. And now I say pain, pay me. That's your connection. Make your suffering cause your bank account to shout hallelujah. My name is Seminary Walden, and I'm called to the educational system. I use biblical principles to ignite and reignite the passion in you to make a lasting impact on this now and next generation. According to Jeremiah 29, but if I say I'll never mention the Lord or speak in his name, his words burn in my heart like a fire. I'm trying to hold it and I just can't do it. So in addition to being a teacher and being called to the school system, I'm a student, I'm a writer, I'm a warrior, I'm a 3-time best-selling Amazon author, I'm a book coach and international speaker, I'm your hope dealer, and I'm your support system. I use my voice to shatter opposition that comes my way, and I use my voice to create the world I want to see by the words I speak and the work I do to make it happen. For many of you, you too have been overlooked. So up next for me is Overlook Academy, where every life lesson, practical tools, skill, and resources I have learned on this journey, along with all the mistakes, pitfalls, and hiccups, will be shared to teach others that just because you've been overlooked by man, a higher power is looking you over and preparing you for your next. What's next for you? I plan to continue to use my voice by opening my mouth and allowing the good things that were placed in it to come out to impact generations. More courses, more workshops, more tours, and more events are forthcoming for the student teacher. My membership site will open in the spring of 2019, and the Student Teacher University will debut the fall of next year, virtually teaching people how to have the heart of a teacher. Parents, you are the first teacher that your child will ever know. And any of us who teach, impart, share, and guide others must not just have the knowledge of one, but we must have the heart of one. Not only do educators feel burnt out, but there are millions of others across this nation and across this globe that also feel like that. So I will continue this victory battle, educating, equipping, and empowering others to free yourself, have the heart of a teacher, and be all that God has created you to be. You have to be the advocate for yourself. The senior advocate of creation has never lost a case. So tip number 3, Hand him your files today so he can read over them and give you the blueprint for your next steps. And that starts with you opening your mouth and loving your voice. Even if 1,000 people have the same message and doing it the same thing as you, your audience, your remnant, and your ideal client will absolutely love your voice. So open up your mouth and speak.